Okay, everyone, welcome back to this latest episode of A Conversation About Design. I've been looking forward to this one. We've been on a bit of a break over the last couple of weeks and months, but really looking forward to this latest episode. And great to have Rakesh here with us, somebody who I've long admired his work ethic, his approach. And so I just wanted to really get him on today to kind of have a chat around all of that. And just explore a little bit more what makes you tick, what inspires you, all of those kind of things. So, what I start to do now is I let the guests introduce themselves rather than kind of reading out this bio. So, Rakesh, welcome. Tell us about yourself.
Well, look, firstly, thank you so much, Amit, for having me. It's been a pleasure to be here as well. So I am Rakesh Makwana. I am a brand designer and art director, freelancing as a solo entrepreneur. I help businesses basically create the visual brand identities from design thinking, a little bit of strategy work, discovery. And so basically, I help companies look good visually,
Mm-hmm.
but with some substance
Right.
behind it. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool. And how long have you been doing this for?
I have 20 plus years now.
Wow.
I've
Okay.
been doing, I guess back in the day, initially starting out, I
Yeah.
was the label, the term was graphic designer, which I am.
Yeah.
But then over time, that label kind of twisted and changed by accident for me to become a brand designer. And then I really niched into the corporate identity initially, and then brand identity and visual identity.
Nice. One of the reasons why I kind of really wanted to talk to you is because I think like most people like in our audience, we admire good design, good taste, etc. And obviously working a lot with startups, that initial brand identity that has to come across in what is a very competitive landscape is so crucial. So the work that you do really kind of helps propel that forward as well. Um, what is tell us a little bit about your typical kind of client, because it would be fascinating to kind of know who do you enjoy working with? Who's your typical client?
Good question. So it ranges and it varies. So some of my clients have been property clients, some of them in the hospitality, fashion label brands, restaurants, um, fintech companies. So it
Mhm.
really ranges from different industries and different backgrounds.
Okay.
So anyone that needs a need for some sort of an identity or help with their brand visual graphics,
Hmm.
and if it's a good match, I do try and get myself involved. I know some people say to niche down into a particular sector or so
Yeah.
forth, but I just love the variety of different types of clients. So, for example, there could be global property,
Mhm.
real estate agencies I've worked with to help shape their look, identity internally
Hmm.
through the design studios. And then startup businesses who are just setting up a new business and from the ground up. So it
Yeah.
really varies on that spectrum.
Okay. Nice. And again, I really wanted to explore like what is the kind of the approach, the mindset on a project. So can you talk us through somebody at a high
Hmm.
level, somebody comes to you and it
Right.
could be a new restaurant, for example, because I think I saw some work we talked about some work that you did in Brixton, I think, with a
Yes.
pizzeria, something.
Yeah, Ciao Brixton.
Yeah. So tell us how that like how does that work? How do they approach you? What do they have? What is that kind of whole process like?
That's an interesting one, actually. So the owner of Ciao Brixton, he had the restaurant space in Brixton. They went under new management, so a lot of the fittings and fixtures of the restaurants were there, but they were just doing a rehaul, a revamp
Okay.
visually. So he approached me to say, look, he has this idea, he wants to revamp it. And so typically how my process starts is really asking questions
Hmm.
to unpack what is the problem. Yes, you want a new brand identity, you might want a logo, but by doing this, what's it going to achieve? What is the outcome, or what's the expectation you perceive it to do for you?
Hmm.
So it really starts with the discovery, asking questions, discovery sessions, and then looking into user profiles as well, as in like who are the typical audience that we're trying to serve. So then there's that phase of looking at that benchmark. Is it male, female,
Yeah.
what age group, what salary, what lifestyle? So by understanding all of the audiences who they're trying to attract, and then looking at brand affiliations they associate themselves with, we're trying to get an alignment of what we're creating for Child Brixton that ties in with their user clientele.
Got it. Got it.
So
And
that,
yeah.
yeah.
No, what is that then like in terms of like you're explaining to a client, obviously there's some discovery work to do, and then I guess there's some, like you said, some benchmarking, some ideation that you go
Mhm.
through. What is the typical timeline on a project like that?
Well, how
Mm,
long is a piece of string? It's
yeah.
depending on the deliverables of
Mm,
what's needed, but generally it can range from, for the work that I typically do, maybe to 3 weeks to 2 months, maybe three
okay.
months. But just
Yeah.
dependent on the deliverables and how far we're going into the discovery.
Okay.
Sometimes, depending on the client's needs and budgets, we might not do the full scope, so they
Okay.
might be streamed down and so forth.
Okay. And then say, for example, this pizzeria, in terms of your discovery work, or maybe when it kind of moves into, okay, we're now going to actually start creating some concepts or ideas.
Mhm.
I would love to know kind of what does that look like? What do you use to inspire you? Where do you go? What does that look like?
Well, I started off by going to a lot of pizzeria places to eat pizza. That's for sure. Um, no, ideas typically for me happen when I'm not always at the computer. It
Mm,
may be when I'm out in nature, socializing with friends, just living human day to day life. And
mm,
I'll be thinking about the project in my head when I'm doing other activities. And I may experience something outside that might
yeah.
trigger an idea, and I'll quickly jot it down. I'll use my phone a lot. A lot of the ideas tend to come to me late at night in bed.
Mm,
It's just like I had this idea,
yeah.
I have to quickly jot it down. So I guess I'm always thinking, but I'm really inspired by, obviously, I do research online. I look at benchmarks and I
Mm,
go deep into the client's project or the industry to unpack and see what I can find. So that's always playing in my head, but it's only comes to some sort of light or an idea when I'm outside of the space, when I'm out in nature
okay.
or somewhere. So I'm doing the work at the computer,
Yeah.
but it's when I step away, it's like, oh, okay, I thought of this, and I'll quickly
Yeah.
jot it down or I'll make a voice note. And then when I come back to the screen, I will kind of dive deep into that and see where it goes almost.
You're right, 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 right. Yeah, I think there's something definitely about whatever your break is, or that walk or that sport or whatever you're doing, all of a sudden
Hmm.
something's going to click in your mind as well.
Yeah.
Um and what would you say is kind of after you've gone through that, that process, that ideation, I'd love to know kind of what it's like to go into that room and, take a couple of concepts to the client. What are you looking for? What reactions are you looking
Hmm.
for? What kind of feedback are you looking for as well? Yeah.
That's interesting
Mm,
because obviously the work's done, presentations created, and especially at the first stage when I present it. I like to do it in person or at
mm,
least over a video call where I can see the expressions because I think there are a lot of cues in that just from when you present it. Uh, Typically, when it sorry, could you rephrase that question again? Because I lost
So
my train of thought there.
you've now come up with, I assume that you probably come up with a few concepts first and
Yes.
then take it to the kid. So just talking us through, not the final delivery, just the whole kind of going through that process. You've done some work. You've
Yeah.
probably narrowed it down to a few solid concepts that you're happy with that you want to present. What is
Hmm.
that like going into that room to show it to the client, and what are you looking for in that
Right.
engagement? Yeah.
So typically, what I'm looking for in that from the client is by presenting these concepts, what are the things that's getting them excited?
Mm,
What elements of the project or from the discussions we're having that they're getting lit up by, or
mm,
things they're not equally? It's exciting because obviously I'm now putting it to them. But for me, it's always their reaction, like
mm.
how they take that on board, like whether they really
Okay.
like it. And not to sound arrogant, but 90% of the times when I've done this, it's pretty much gone to plan. And I
Okay.
think that's just purely by asking questions and doing the
Yeah.
discovery and understanding the core problem. That's helped me get closer to the mark of what they were looking
Mm,
for. Yes, there are fine tweaks and stuff, but it's really the excitement of their expression and how they
yeah.
initially, when I presented that initial
Cool.
look,
Yeah.
that's what I look forward for.
Yeah. Any particular favorite projects?
And actually, one of the ones I did for a property construction company called Tivaris,
Mm,
actually, um, two co-founders, they approached me. They wanted a brand identity project.
mm,
They initially started off with the name T-Golf, and after a lot of discovery, we did a deep dive into the industry and discovery, and we ended up changing the name from T-Golf to Tivaris. And Tivaris was a word made up because you
Okay.
could get the domain,
Yeah.
you could get the hosting, you could get all of the things. There was no competition. So the word was made up and now has become quite renowned
Cool.
in their industry with their networks as
Yeah.
Tivaris, and they're the only ones. So that was a really exciting project because it was really building something from scratch
Yeah.
and then elevating that.
Right. And any and what does it feel like when you kind of, I assume that you're probably like if you go to Brixton with your family one day and then you kind of see your the logo that you've designed is on the front of a restaurant,
Mm-hmm.
or you see it in an ad online. What is that feeling to you when you kind of see my creation out in the wild?
It's nice. It is lovely to see it, but I think because I've been doing it for so long now,
Yeah.
like uh it is humbling. It's like,
Mm.
oh yeah, I have done, and I do get excited because it's
Yeah.
the work that I put out there.
Yeah.
I guess you asked me 15 years ago or so, like I'll be like, oh, jumping, oh,
Yeah.
my work's there, right? And
Yeah.
it is that exciting, but it's lovely to see, really.
Yeah.
And I think what I find interesting is how people interact with design,
Mm.
like maybe the work I've contributed towards and how that experience of another human interacts with it.
Right.
So whether they are at Chow Brixton, for example, sitting down looking at the menu, I will go into restaurants. My wife says this to me all the time. She's like,
Mm.
have you decided what to eat? I'm like, no, but have you seen the paper, the texture, the line, the typeset? This is
Yeah.
how I operate.
Yeah.
And I just like the interaction of how people
Yeah.
experience
Um,
design.
Any particular projects that you think, oh, I wish looking back I could have done a little bit better, or something like
Oh,
actually could have done? And what would it be that you would have changed?
oh, there's definitely been projects.
Mm,
I think I could have done better. I think that's an imposter syndrome of a
mm,
creative, that you always want to perfect it. Um, I can't think of one right
hmm.
now.
It's
Off
tough.
the,
I know I put you on the spot there.
you put me on the
Yeah.
spot because but I'm just trying. There has been, but
Okay, let me make it a
yeah,
little bit easier then.
yeah.
What have you adjusted in your process as a result of projects in the past? You're like, actually, this isn't the way I should be doing my work, and what was that adjustment? Or yeah, just some examples of that.
That's a great question. So I guess earlier on, when I was designing corporate identities
Mm,
or brand visual identities, I was diving deep into having a kickoff call with the client,
hmm.
ask a few questions about the business and so forth, and then I'll go straight into mood boarding and then designing and delivering a concept and then fine tuning it. Now, for many years now, what I've learned now is the best way that's helped me get alignment with the design project with the client is really going deep in discovery.
Mm,
I have a client workbook sheet which really goes through questions,
okay.
asking them what they like, what they don't like, if they've worked with other designers, how's that relationship been? Has there been any issues or problems? We really want to dive deep into their previous working solutions with other creatives, in their businesses, other challenges. And I think I really go deep into the discovery and the
Mm,
unpacking of their core business values and proposition and what the outcome and expectation is. And
yeah.
by knowing this, then I go into producing like a deep mood board called the Stylescape, which looks into fonts, typography, image settings. So it really helps get a direction. I'll present maybe one, two of those. So this phase would be like aligning me and the client together to say,
Hmm.
right, this is what you said. This is what I created. Are we in alignment? Are
Got it.
we good to go route A, B, or C, for example?
Got it.
And I think having checkpoints as well along the way is critical just for myself and the client as well, that we are aligned and I'm not going off on a tangent creating something the client doesn't really want, or
Hmm.
vice versa, or some information they haven't given. So I
Yeah.
think having checkpoints along the way really helps.
Good. I think
Uh,
that's again, you're just listening to you talk through that process again, just as my own learning. I think one of the things I love about doing these podcasts is that
mm,
I get to pick the brains of people that I'm kind of chatting with and learn at the same time. So for me, obviously I'm quite aware of what it goes into like building a brand, but
hmm
the level of detail that you're taking through that discovery work is actually quite fascinating. I didn't know what a stylescape was, so I need to go and Google that later on as well. But I think that's quite fascinating to hear. And I think there's I kind of want to shift gears a little bit to like the impact of AI in this work. But I think that discovery work, which is very human oriented and
Yeah.
conversational, is such a big fundamental piece of the work that you do, as well as UX designers, product designers, etc.
Hmm.
So shifting gears slightly in terms of where do you see, because it's obviously the hot topic, AI and some of the platforms and tools in aiding some of the work that you do.
I think it's fantastic.
Mm,
I use it. Probably I don't use it as much as I should, but I definitely use it in my process. I
mm,
definitely use it in my discovery process in unpacking um, user personas, for example,
hmm
design thinking ideas. So I may have the ideas and then I'll prompt, let's say ChatGPT,
mm,
Claude, um, just to help elevate my thinking or think about other elements.
hmm
I don't necessarily use the AI apps to create
hmm
graphics or designs per se,
Yeah.
um, just because I haven't found it useful for me because I've got the ideas. I'm pretty swift with my hands on Illustrator and the
Mm,
design application tools to create that. But the AI has helped me speed the process of the
mm,
client conversations and the communication
yeah.
because I can come to the table based on what they've said and plug my idea in quickly
hmm
into AI and it will spit it out.
Yeah.
And then that saves me a lot of time. So
Yeah.
I'm a dyslexic graphic designer.
Mm,
And so academically, as a younger me, I remember in school, I've always struggled with academic sort of studies, but anything creative with my hands, I was like straight in.
yeah.
So I think AI massively helped me in this, like
Wow.
in
Okay. Yeah.
ways of like, wow, yeah.
Yeah. No, and again, I think everyone's kind of figuring out their workflow, their tools, their stack that they want to have. And I agree. I think a lot of the work again that you do, that craft, has to be done in that very manual, hands-on way. But that
Mm.
research that you can just do with AI to speed all of that up and synthesizing your research
Yeah.
is so massively powerful as well. Um, what would you say to somebody who kind of wants to enter this world in terms of branding, corporate design, etc.? Like what tips would you give them? Because I think there's a lot of people who are obviously looking at, okay, well, there's an impact on AI that AI is having rather on in the industry.
Mm.
I don't think it's going to kind of massively impact the roles as we think there is. I think you've got to harness these tools. But if you were to kind of, talk to somebody who is thinking about entering this world of brand design, what advice would you give them at this stage or in like in the current world?
Good question. Funny enough, one of my nephews has just graduated, and we were having a conversation not so long ago, and he was asking a similar question. And I think what I would say is immerse yourself into the industry, like
Mm,
uh, just if you can work for a company or an agency,
mm,
or try to get in there, learn skills, the areas of expertise that you like,
mm,
really go into it. It's so easier now to get information or learn about certain tools or aspects, whether
mm,
it be typography or so forth. Just immerse yourself in that space, like find people that might have workshops or
mm,
events around that, and just put yourself in it
mm.
and learn and treat yourself as a sponge, just absorbing
Yeah.
information. Like I think, especially earlier on, I think we've all kind of done this in some degree.
Mm,
Is that we go into it kind of wide to
mm,
kind of figure out if what we like, what we
mm,
don't. Looking at the design industry as a whole, and then as you start having these different experiences, I'm pretty confident you find out what you like more, and you can
mm.
go deeper into it.
Yeah.
But I think just have people around you, join forums,
Mm,
meetups with other creatives, because that helps spark
yeah.
interest and the joy and excitement of design.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think you're absolutely right. And I think, even if I look at our students who are coming through our programs, the ones who
Mm,
are having the most success are fully immersing themselves.
yeah.
Obviously, it's a different discipline, but the same principles apply. And the ones that are kind of figuring out that they've done their course and they're kind of not isolating themselves, but kind of staying back, kind of staying at
Mm,
home, not getting out there into the world of design are going to struggle. I think it's
yeah,
you've got that's where that human element comes back into play,
yeah. But
right?
then also there's another side to it. So let's say somebody who's extrovert it
Mm,
would be easier for them to go out and socialize.
yeah,
But if there's somebody who's introvert, for them to do that would be the most terrifying thing,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I think if somebody is probably introvert, there are other ways you can do it. Is you can do
mm,
it online, you can research, you can
hmm,
learn your tools and your craft, and then I think having a social presence helps.
yeah,
So for that introvert person, maybe it's creating a poster every day or
mm,
a project every day, writing a I don't know writing every day, whatever
yeah,
that
yeah,
creative journey is, and then putting it out there every day.
yeah,
So you're still doing an act of creation,
yeah,
but from your safe space without having to put yourself
yeah.
around other people that makes you uncomfortable.
This is fascinating because I think we spoke about this a couple of weeks ago when we connected, right? Like
Mm.
you're obviously getting a lot more stuff out there, and you've really picked up on
I'm
your
trying.
personal brand and your social. So, I mean, yeah, if like I just want to pick up on that a little bit more. How can somebody who's looking to enter this market, like how there's obviously a big leap that has to be taken, and
Mm.
there's probably some imposter syndrome that has to be overcome as well. But what tips would you give to somebody who, because if I think if I could have done some of my personal branding 10 years ago or 7 years ago, how much of a bigger impact it would have had,
Mm.
right? And if I look at some of these younger designers, I'm like, start this stuff now. Start getting stuff out there every day. Start kind of talking about and showing. It may not even be directly what you do, but like I said, it could be a poster. A UX designer might make logos. Anyways, it's a creative outlet, and it's just easy to
Yeah,
post it and don't worry about what people think. So,
exactly. And I think
so
that's the thing.
what are your thoughts on that, and any advice you would give to any age designer who wants to kind of get into this industry?
Yeah, I think putting work out is the best thing you can do, and
Mm,
consistency does help, and it plays the long and playing the long game. I, if I'm honest, I probably got into it later, and
mm,
but then it's like, oh, shoulda, woulda, could have
yeah.
sort of scenario. But it's just making the act of just doing it now.
Mm,
So yeah, anything somebody wants to share in terms of the creative being, like put it out, maybe a post a day or post every other day.
mm,
Share a story, a point of view through maybe LinkedIn. I think, especially now with personal branding and where that's going, having a point of view is really something quite powerful because your social presence now is almost your equivalent of a CV. Well, in
yeah.
fact, it is, I think, now in
Yeah.
today's age, right? You get checked out on socials
Yeah.
to see what are you doing, what are you putting, what is your
Yeah.
character, your affiliations, and so forth. So I think to be ignorant to that and say, well, I don't really care,
Mm,
I think is a disadvantage, especially in this day and age, because we need to appear how we want to appear, right? Rather
mhm,
than someone taking it and say, well, you're this person when you
mhm,
might not be.
mm,
So I think the advantage of sharing consistently, and that could be 1, 2, 3, 4 days, or however that
mhm,
person wants to do it, but sharing it consistently allows you to say what you want with your voice
mm.
for the people out
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
you know.
Absolutely. And in terms of kind of, I think another very, very interesting area to kind of explore is, and I'm
Mm,
doing a talk on this a little bit later in the month, is a bit of a learning roadmap, like not going into this a little bit headless. Like you talked about kind of going into design and being very broad, and then obviously niching in as you come along or narrowing down.
mm.
What would you say is in terms of like your advice to somebody who wants to enter this world of brand design? Courses, tools, what else do you think they could do as part of their learning? Obviously, there's a bit of networking and putting stuff out there, but obviously having a clear roadmap of what to learn and how to go about that. Is there anything that you would give as advice on that?
That's a loaded question. And
Mm,
in all essence, I think what I would say, if if people have heard of The Future and Christo, I would say that would be a really good bench or place to start
yeah.
because that channel of what Christo, and I literally applied a lot of his teachings for The Future into my business. And
Mm,
I think that's a good space to go because you learn about fundamentals of design, but
mm,
design in business. And I think depending on where people want to go, if they want to be a freelancer or work for
yeah.
themselves, I think earlier on it's all about the craft, and it still is about the craft. But you can get so deep into the craft. But
Mm,
if you are being a freelancer, you have to understand the business side of things
mm,
as well. So I think that channel, The
yeah,
Future with Christo, is a really good first step to go if you don't know about it. Just
yeah,
because there's so much content on there in terms of pricing,
yeah,
positioning, conversations, the role plays, and just how to conduct what you do and how to best serve clients and so forth.
yeah, absolutely.
You know.
We need to get him back to London, I think, and
Yes.
host him again. Figure that out. We'll send him a message and say, "Hey, come on, come back and spend 4 hours with us again, and we can all pick your brains." What?
But yeah,
Yeah.
no, I was just going to add
Yeah.
as well. There are many design books as well.
Mm,
There's Martin Neumeyer, The Gap, which is a great branding book.
okay.
And it talks about more the psychological element of branding rather than just decorative, meaning I think I'm going to probably mess this up, but a brand is not what you say it is. It's what your consumers or other people say about you to be more accurate or true. You know, and I think that's quite interesting. It's almost like personalities, right? You have a personality, but you are perceived differently from different people. So some
Yes.
people may see you one way, your partner, your other
Mm,
friends will see you a different way. However, it's still you.
hmm.
But we have these facets and different sides of what we show. And similarly with brands, I think it's similar, like how it connects. We are a company, we're an organization, we are like this, but we serve and operate in different ways. But staying true to our core beliefs is what's important. When you stray away from that, that's when people can sniff out, oh, you look a bit fake or it's a bit shady.
Mm,
And that's when it breaks or you break that trust. And just
got it.
like in real life with human
Yeah.
connections, right?
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. And I think again, it's just as an individual brand, like you're absolutely right. A corporate brand or an individual brand is perceived completely different. It's how you want to shape that as well. Okay, gonna switch gears now a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah.
What does life outside of your work look like?
Chaotic and hectic
Yeah.
in the loveliest way. I have two daughters who are 6 and 3. So they keep me very active.
Mm,
Outside of work, family life, nature, socializing,
mm,
just talking to people.
mm,
I love just having conversations with people and just,
mm,
unpacking. But yeah,
mm.
sports, badminton, I
Yeah,
guess I
nice.
enjoy playing a lot.
Yeah.
Uh,
How I'm
yeah.
fast. The reason I ask is because I'm as a lot of us are as we get older, we've got kids, we've got very clear direction what we're trying to do with our kind of work careers. But obviously it's very tightly and has to, work around kind of life
Mm,
and family life as well. So I'm kind of always looking at like, okay, well, you've got this, great studio. You're working with these great brands. You're building these brand designs. You've got a very busy kind of work life, family life as well. How do they mesh? How do you get inspiration from stuff that you do outside of work? And how does that come in? And I think you talked a little bit about it earlier.
mm,
For me, a lot of my inspiration just, comes from just taking time out, playing golf, just being around people. I think we're very fortunate at Experience House to have a really great community of people that are very like-minded and always who are really good at different things.
mm.
And so, yeah, just fascinated to kind of learn a little bit of how you've kind of approached just building this kind of like work-life balance in a way.
Yeah, it's well, I'm still it's tricky sometimes because obviously, being a freelancer working from home,
Mm,
there's a lot of distractions.
mm,
But hence I'm building a home studio, so that will be
mhm,
my zone and focus. The balance is very flexible and very, I don't want to say messy in a negative way, messy or it's not structured
mm,
too much because it's, you know, depending on the project, depending on what I'm doing, it really varies and it goes up and down,
mm,
you know.
yeah.
But let me ask you the question: how
Mm,
do you get a lot of your inspiration? Like I know you mentioned with the students, you get it there,
yeah.
but do you have processes or way you like manage the creative thinking outside of work?
I yeah, good question. I think, I have all these books behind me. I wouldn't say I've read every single one, and some of them are
It
my
looks
wife's.
very good though.
Yeah, it looks it was a COVID project to put it all together and organize it. Obviously, I try and read. It's a lot of my stuff is just as I'm on the go, just constantly picking up. I get a lot of inspiration, honestly, from LinkedIn. So much great stuff is shared.
Mm,
I'm not necessarily reading posts, but there's so much. great. There's so many white papers. There's so many like free documents.
Mm.
I'm about to go to Kingston Business School, which is about an hour and a half trek from me from my house. So I'm loading up my iPad with some reading. So when
Mm.
I go, and a lot of my stuff right now is around agentic AI. Just kind of want to just become, you just want to keep reading about that stuff. And but it could be anything. If I'm I love the reason why I want to also chat with you is because I love brand design. I love, I don't
Mm.
do it as a craft, but I appreciate it when I
Yeah.
find, I think there's a lot of great stuff in the property world. The way that the materials and brochures are put together. I'll save
Yeah.
it. I save tons of PDFs and then I'll go back to them and read them. If I'm on a plane or I'm on a train, I'll just store them
Yeah.
on my iPad and just consume. Um, I I do a lot of my thinking when I'm on walks or on the train. Like I
Okay.
was in Leicester this week. On that train, I'm just kind of constantly kind of just I want
Wow.
to build some stuff in Lovable, the rapid prototyping tool. So that's usually when my inspiration comes. If I'm here in my office at home, it's morely just working and just getting things done. But I
Yeah.
find a lot of my inspiration kind of similar to you. Is just when I'm out, and listening to music or on the tube. It's things are just thinking. I'm just thinking through stuff in my head, and sometimes that's at night, and
Yeah.
I'll make a note and then kind of come back to it in the morning as well. So um, yeah, I don't think there's an organized process to my inspiration. I think it's just on the flow, on the go. But I get a lot of
Mm.
information and insight from LinkedIn.
Yeah. And similarly, like what you said, there
Yeah,
isn't that process. It
yeah,
goes up and down. And similarly, it works for me that way
yeah,
as well. I do sit down at the computer at times. I'm like, right. It's not like, okay, I need to be creative and start thinking. It doesn't
yeah.
generally work that way,
No,
but I'll be doing a task on the computer on screen, let's say for a project, but it may spark an idea
yeah,
and I'll go down a rabbit hole through research and so forth.
yeah,
Or like you said as well, I might be listening to a song or music or
yeah,
a lyric of a song, or the mood, the energy might help spark
yeah,
something.
yeah.
And that's something I really do actually, depending on the project I'm working on or the client or the industry and where it
Mm.
is. I tend to listen to music that are in that industry or that sound.
Okay. Yeah.
So funny enough, with Chow Brixton, I was listening to a lot of Italian music or the
Okay.
old school. I had that playing. Um, with Tavares, for example,
Yeah.
there's a lot of high energy music, sounds of construction, and I'll leave that in
Mm.
playing because I think I'm ADHD. I believe I am, but
Hmm.
so my brain really jumps from here and there,
Mm.
and having this background noise for me while I'm doing the task, I find it really helps spark something,
Interesting.
and I can't pinpoint it down how or
Yeah.
why, but there's something with sound when I'm doing some that physical activity that helps triggers an idea, and yeah, I think this is why late at night sometimes because there might be a little bit of music playing and the idea might come up like, oh, God, try it out,
Yeah,
sort of
interesting.
thing.
Interesting. And you like you said, you're building your home studio. I think there's something about the space that you're in,
Mm.
right? And for me at home, my home office is very close to our open kitchen here. I find it struggle. I can't always concentrate even if no one's home. I find it quite hard. So like I'm building this talk, for example. I'll just walk down to the Costa Coffee down the road. It's 15-minute walk, and I'll sit there for 2 hours instead. And because there's just background chats going on, I can
Yeah.
plug in music if I want, and I'll be super productive for that 2 hours. But if I try and do that here, it just won't. I won't.
Yeah,
I won't do it.
I'm exactly the same.
Yeah.
Hence why where our kitchen is, the studio is going to be in the garden,
Yeah.
but just that distance from the house
Yes.
makes the biggest difference
Yeah.
because the kitchen's too close for me to snack on,
Yeah.
or make a tea or just procrastinate.
Or
Just
just walk around and find
yeah,
something. Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
Absolutely.
almost like switching off. I think it's important as well.
Mm.
The work life balance, as you mentioned earlier. That I think what's important for me is to switch off. Like,
Mm.
yes, I work. So having a space where I work outside the house is important.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to leave that there. And then when
Yeah.
I'm at home, I've been really present with my family
Yeah.
and really being immersive and they have my full attention.
Yeah.
That's not to say I'm not thinking, but
Yeah.
I'm distinguishing and I'm distancing these elements because I think as I've grown older, priorities, I think, change in life.
Mm.
You know,
Hmm.
yes, there's a need, there's a want, and it's just choosing and finding that. Even the word balance, I wouldn't use because I think the by definition, it means equal.
Yeah.
I like to use the word harmony. What is the
Mm,
harmony I want? What do I want more of in a certain moment in time? And what do I want
yeah.
something else later in life or whatever that may be?
Yeah. Absolutely. I find myself more hungry and determined now, but there are moments where I'm like, okay, I'm switching off completely.
Yeah.
And that typically sometimes is a Saturday. I was completely switch off from work. Maybe at night when everyone's gone to sleep, I'll kind of switch back on and do a bit of work or planning.
Yeah.
But there are times where I'm like, okay, no, that's it. I'm going to be. But the brain is kind of thinking behind, and a spark could come out of nowhere, or you're watching TV with the kids, and all of a sudden something pops into your head, like, oh, I need
I'm
to go to that. Yeah,
I'm curious to find out when you have these moments of an idea or inspiration comes, what's your go-to to jot it down before it goes? Because for me, if I don't do it there and then, it's gone and I'll
yeah.
forget about it.
So what I've done is I've created a shortcut on my phone
Okay.
where I can tap a button, speak into it, and it adds it to my Trello board.
Okay, you're gonna have to share that with me.
Yeah.
Share that with me later.
And so if I'm walking or something comes into my head, or it could be research this, or um,
Okay.
ask this person about this thing because I'd love to dig deeper. So I've just created a little shortcut that sits on my home screen. I literally tap it, I speak into it,
Right.
and it captures that as a voice note and adds it to the bottom of a Trello board that I have.
Fantastic.
And then that is just there, and I live and breathe. Just my whole life is just controlled through Trello. If anyone got into my Trello board, they could literally ruin me. Everything's there, but it's the quickest way for me to, because again, I'm getting this stuff mostly on the go.
Yeah.
So I'm really bad with notepads and in making notes. I'm not as, I won't sit in a meeting and scribble that stuff down. I'm really
Mhm.
bad. If I'm in a meeting, I probably will record it with voice memo and then chuck it into ChatGPT later using the transcript
Fantastic.
stuff. It's just figuring out ways where a lot of time it's I don't need it immediately. I just want to have it saved somewhere so when I do need it, it's tucked into a ChatGPT chat, or it's
Yeah.
tucked into a Trello board, and then I can always go back and pick it back up.
And see, this is the beautiful thing with AI, right?
Yeah.
As you just demonstrated how to utilize it
Yeah.
and working for you,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
I think it's makes the process easier.
Oh, there's so many things now where it's like if I'm usually overthinking something, it's actually like there's probably a way I can just use ChatGPT or Claude or
Mm.
Perplexity to completely kind of unravel this for me and just get it going. And yeah, it might do 80% of the work, but at least it's gotten over that hump of actually get it going. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think it frees up mental capacity for
Yes.
you to start thinking about the more important things.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Rakesh, this has been great. I think there's so much more I could chat to you about, and maybe we'll just pick it up again later in the year. But to
Definitely.
end, where can people find out more about your work? How can they connect with you? Yeah, just tell us.
Yep. So the best place is on Instagram. My handle is at rack.i.am.
Hmm. Yeah,
On Instagram, they can see my work on Behance/Mac Graphics, which is MAKGRAFIX. But yeah,
perfect.
Instagram is the best place to kind of see me, see
Yeah,
my work, and there's a lot of links on there to
yeah,
see my work and so forth.
perfect. And hopefully one day we can arrange something in our studio. Maybe you can come and talk through your approach. Because I think one of the things, even though at Experience House we're more focused on experience design, there's all these other elements that bring all of these components together. So brand design, and
Mm.
I want to just showcase kind of the thought, the process, the inspiration for all of these different elements to our community as well. So hopefully we'll get you down to do that one day.
That would be amazing. No, it'd be
Yeah,
my pleasure.
we'll
But look,
arrange
thank
that.
you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no
And I'm going
problem.
to have to take you up on that golf offer
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah. Anytime,
have that
anytime. We
swing.
don't live far from each other, so
We don't.
the weather is not so great at the
Yes,
moment, but one day we'll do it for sure.
for sure.
For sure. All right. Have a fantastic rest of the day. Thank you so much for joining us.
You too. Take
Perfect.
care,
All
mate.
right. Take care.